Hello, everyone. It's Thuan again. Thank you for joining my next podcast episode. A long time ago, maybe even a year ago, I mentioned I'd make part 2 of Young and Clumsy 3 about love. I felt like I didn't have enough experience with love, so I kept hesitating and never got around to it. But recently, something happened that made me want to share some of my thoughts on love. Today's episode is just a casual reflection of my thoughts, so it'll be a regular podcast episode, not part 2 of Young and Clumsy 3. Recently, I just met my ex-boyfriend. When I end a relationship, I usually block that person, cut off all communication with them, and don't contact them anymore. I did the same with this person. But back then, we were both involved in the same organization, so we had mutual friends. A friend messaged me, saying that he was going to study abroad, probably for a very long time, and she didn't know when he'd return to Vietnam. Throughout the time after we broke up, he had been going to therapy. Now, he wanted to meet me to say everything we hadn't said back then. He was preparing to study abroad in a new country and wanted to resolve all past issues. I thought, okay, I'll go meet him. Honestly, I don't know what to call him. Calling him my lover isn't quite right, and ex-boyfriend also feels a bit different for me in a relationship when it's just starting and both people are getting to know each other, sharing beautiful feelings but nothing too deep. I'd call that person a boyfriend. Later, when both have been in love for a while, know each other's good and bad sides, and have deeper, more intimate connections, then I'd call them a lover. With this person, our relationship wasn't ambiguous, it was very clear. Everyone around us knew we were a couple, but between us, there wasn't an official confirmation, and we weren't intimate enough to call each other lovers. At that time, the relationship was developing very naturally when a huge, enormous thing happened, and after that, we ended it. I met him for one last conversation, and after feeling like we had said everything that needed to be said, I blocked him and hadn't contacted him since. Now, meeting him again, he told me that he hadn't loved anyone else since we broke up. I was quite shocked because it had been several years since we split. Let me continue. It's not because he loved me that much. He then went on to say that the last words I said to him made him think a lot, and after that, he actually did exactly what I told him to do. Honestly, I was so young back then, everyone. I was so young and clumsy, innocent and naive. I'm a person who is 5 feet tall, but my pride is 10 feet high, so I would never allow myself to appear ugly or pathetic in front of others. So, in that last meeting, even though I was deeply resentful and furious, wanting to scold, curse, or even hit him, I didn't. Instead, I cursed him in a civilized way, saying things sharply but politely. I didn't really understand what I was saying back then. I was just trying to get it off my chest. I remember telling him, I'm upset about being treated this way, partly, but I'm even more upset because I don't understand why I gave my feelings to you and let someone like you into my life. I wonder if you've ever truly loved anyone. Do you truly understand what love is? Just because you're in a relationship and say you love them doesn't mean you actually love the other person. Do you think you've ever loved anyone before now? And I think if you keep being like this, you'll never truly fall in love, never truly love anyone sincerely. If you truly loved someone, you would never do things like that. He then told me that my words made him ponder a lot. He started to feel confused and questioned. What is love? He looked back at his entire life, his relationships. This is a quite personal issue, so I won't go into more detail, but after that, he sought psychological counseling and therapy for a long time. And from then until recently, he hadn't loved anyone else. Because, as he told me, once you know what love is, you won't be so easy or casual about dating anymore. After he finished telling me everything that had happened to him, he said, I asked you to meet me today not to beg or to ask for another chance to get back together, because you've made it very clear you'll never go back to exes or old relationships. I asked you to meet me just to say that it's only now that I realize I was wrong. It's very late, and maybe you don't even care about that mistake anymore, but this apology is for my own relief. I asked you here to offer an apology, even though it's too late to say it, and to express my gratitude. Because if it weren't for your words back then, I probably would have just continued on, never realizing I had a problem. My emotions were so mixed at that moment because so much time had passed, and I had been in other relationships since then. So I told him that any feelings of love or affection for him were long gone, but memory and nostalgia are such miraculous things, everyone. Lately, I've been studying English because I'm not good at it, so every time I learn a word, I have to learn it very thoroughly. In English, there are many different types of remembering. There are two words, missing and remembering. Remembering is like recalling information in a robotic way, like someone's height, where they live, their name, age. It's a factual recall. But miss is more about longing, leaning more towards feelings. There are times when I miss them more than the details I remember about them. That's a bit confusing, right? It means I feel their absence more deeply than the specific memories I can recall. There are things I thought I'd forgotten, but my body still remembers. My brain is divided into many parts: memory, conscious, subconscious, and many others. Painful memories that create trauma are still stored in my brain. And when something triggers it, when something touches it and brings it to the surface, it still remembers. When I met that person again, we both turned back the clock to the moment the incident happened, and all my memories and emotions returned to that time. For me, at that time, it was a huge shock because I was just coming of age, everyone. That incident was colossal to me and truly traumatized me. I read in a book on psychological trauma that when trauma comes to you, it doesn't come from the enormous, painful event itself, but from within you when you have to endure those events. And my brain, it's often very foolish. My brain sometimes doesn't know how to distinguish between reality and the moment that suffering actually occurred. Just a few triggers, a few causes that touch a nerve, and my brain thinks I'm back at the time that huge event happened, and a series of traumatic reactions occur. It makes me truly believe I'm going through those terrible stages again. When we said our goodbyes, I felt incredibly broken. I doubted everything around me. I doubted myself, my worth, my love. And the worst part wasn't the pain I had to endure during that time, but that I thought, I'll probably never be happy again. There's probably no true love in this world. I lost faith in love, and I think that was the worst thing. Even when I was the one who initiated the breakup, I was always the last one left in a relationship. At those times, I always felt abandoned, like I wasn't good enough. And as a self-defense mechanism, I would then study frantically and work frantically to become better. I did that not to find a new lover or to make my ex regret it, but to prove it to one person only, myself. I wanted to believe in myself, to believe that I was awesome and deserved good things. This time was just bad luck, but you're awesome. You'll strive to be better, be more capable, read more books, gain more skills, become more beautiful, and deserve all good things. So please don't doubt yourself anymore. Please don't doubt yourself anymore. I remember reading a book by an author I really like a long time ago. If you're interested in philosophy and such, you'll probably know Simone de Beauvoir. Beauvoir is a philosopher, and she was one of the pioneers in writing about women's issues, about things for women. In her book, The Second Sex, which might be translated as Gioi Tin Thur Hai, the second gender in Vietnamese, I read it in English, and my English isn't great, so I'll just explain it in my own understanding. If I'm wrong, please explain it in the comments later. She mentioned that love is an inherent thing, a hope to be with another person, to be listened to be affirmed of who we are. But time and again, love makes us doubt ourselves more, get lost in the relationship, and forget who we are. According to Beauvoir, the way boys and girls are raised is also different. Boys are raised with the belief that love is just one part of their lives, and they can succeed in many things at once. Meanwhile, girls are raised to believe that love is essential, extremely important, and that if they succeed in other aspects, it will make them less lovable. I grew up in a rural area about 20 years ago where progressive thinking wasn't very widespread. So back then, if my parents invested a lot in my education, people around would often tell them, "Oh, why are you educating your daughter so much? If she's too smart, no one will marry her. Girls who are too capable won't get married." Of course, it's been 1 to 2 centuries since Beauvoir's book was published, so many things have changed, but in some places, these attitudes still persist. And because of being raised this way, raised in 2 different ways, the romantic expectations of both sides, men and women, also differ. And it also depends on the deficiencies, the issues, and how they were raised. After presenting these points, Beauvoir offered a solution for having a healthy relationship, balancing individual interest and absolute altruism. This means that to have a healthy relationship, both people should be together, help each other, give, but without losing themselves. Share each other's lives but still give each other private space. And the good things you see in your partner, let them develop freely. Don't stifle their growth within your own perceptions. Love them for who they are, not for your own expectations or illusions projected onto them. And a healthy relationship is ruined when one person sees the other as inferior or superior to themselves. A healthy relationship is an equal relationship with a feeling of support and companionship. I find this to be true. If you've listened to my podcast episode 32 about self-confidence, I told everyone that I like to date people who are smarter than me. I like to look at my partner with admiration. Admiring my partner is good, there's nothing wrong with it. But if I admire them to the point of feeling insecure about myself, feeling inferior to them back then, I was so insecure that loving them felt like receiving a blessing. When you're that insecure, it will come with negative things in a relationship. Even if your partner is a very good person, if you don't feel confident, you will always doubt yourself. Even if you don't express it verbally, your subconscious and your actions won't be positive or healthy. A healthy relationship must be equal. Don't feel too inferior or too arrogant towards your partner. That's why I absolutely love people who, despite being much smarter and more knowledgeable than me, don't make me feel inadequate. They teach me many interesting things, give me the opportunity to try those things, and tell me that they know those things simply because it's their strength and they research them earlier. They encourage, motivate, and support my development. I like to be around people like that. Sometimes I wonder, when I choose to love someone, is it because I like that person and want to be with them, or is it because I love them? The other day, I read a research paper. What's that called in Vietnamese? A research paper? I'm not sure, but I'll leave the link in the description below for everyone to read. In it, the author offered an explanation for the difference between liking and loving. They said liking is feeling grateful for and admiring someone, wanting to spend time with them, and that doesn't necessarily have to be love. Love is more intense and profound, involving a strong desire for closeness and intimacy. Liking is wanting to be together, but love is more than that. Love is caring about the other person's needs as much as your own. The author of that research also stated that he believes romantic love is composed of three main elements. First, a close bond and the need for dependence. Second, a tendency to help and sacrifice for the partner. And third, a sense of exclusivity, a unique connection. With these three elements mentioned above, it's easy to understand why, when we love someone, we can easily become engrossed in that love and disconnect from other relationships. Because isn't love about the need for dependence, a close bond, sacrifice for that person, and a feeling of exclusivity, a unique connection? So, when we love someone, it's understandable that we easily become engrossed and disconnect from other relationships. Later, I'll leave a link in the description for you all that explains the chemical reactions in our brains when we love someone, just like an addict. I won't explain it all here because it's lengthy, and I'm afraid I might explain it incorrectly, so I'll just provide the link. But this addiction to a lover is real because brain scans during the loving process show it's like an addiction. Truly. I think it's rare for anyone to know how to love healthily the first time around. What is healthy love? What is unhealthy love? For me, I think loving in an unhealthy way means, first, constantly needing validation from your partner. Second, obsessively staying in contact with your partner, always wanting to text, always wanting to call to update them on your life. Of course, that's also necessary, but not if it happens with excessive frequency. Third, disregarding your personal boundaries with your partner, wanting to invade their life 100%, wanting to merge two independent people into one. Then, controlling and being jealous of your partner, envious of their other relationships. Loving to the point of disrupting your daily activities. Sounds childish, right? Like, how can someone love to the point of disrupting daily activities? But that was me in the past. There were times when I loved my boyfriend so much that I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to stay in bed, texting him, scrolling on TikTok for a while, then texting him again. It truly disrupted other tasks. Next, feeling self-conscious, as I mentioned earlier, or refusing to participate in activities unrelated to your relationship, like not going to class, not meeting friends, not networking. That's truly detrimental. That's really seeing love as the entirety of your life, which is very bad. Finally, one thing I think is also not good is constantly living in anxiety about your relationship with the other person. Always worrying if you'll keep dating, what the next relationship will be like, what the next development will be, if you'll stay together until the end, and constantly fearing a breakup when nothing is actually happening. While you're both still in a happy, peaceful relationship, you just like to create anxiety for yourself. For me, those are the characteristics of an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy love. More or less, we'll all stumble upon one of the things I mentioned above, and I think the most common characteristic of unhealthy love is seeing love as the entirety of your life. You gradually go out less with friends, socialize less. When that relationship ends and they walk out of your life suddenly feels empty and there's nothing left. To the point where you feel alien to yourself, you don't know how to navigate your own life. When we first start learning about love, we don't know these things. I've witnessed quite a few breakups, from moments of happiness to times when my friends were utterly shattered and heartbroken. I find love to be something very magical, very mysterious, because love can make people incredibly strong and can also make them incredibly weak. Love can be the motivation that drives a person to constantly grow and become better, but it can also shatter a person into many pieces. Love can be both salvation and a curse for a person's happiness. My best friend broke up with her boyfriend back then, and we were all so sad because she and her boyfriend truly had a beautiful, high-quality relationship. They had truly grown up together, developed a profoundly deep connection. I was the one who witnessed my friend having to pick up every broken piece, then mend and patch them up, and slowly heal her pain. So I was the one who witnessed all of my friends suffering when a relationship ended, and then saw her move on, saw her become happy again, stepping into a healthy relationship. Oh my God, that feeling was amazing, incredibly happy. It was like, yes, you deserve this. This is what you deserve. It had to be this way. Just like a proud mother, so incredibly happy when my friend was happy again. The other day, it was my friend's birthday, and she posted a letter on Instagram. She said, "I'm focusing on self-development and unexpectedly found the destiny of my life. I'm surprised that I can love again, and he loves me in a way I've always dreamed of. He's always by my side, guiding and protecting me. I never thought my broken heart could heal and love him in the most wonderful way. Thank you for being here with me to celebrate this birthday. I hope we'll be together for many, many more birthdays." Oh my God, I swear, I cried at that moment, everyone. I just cried like, oh my God, my friend is finally happy. It was just so incredibly joyful because, oh my God, I don't want to bring up sad memories again, but when she broke up with her ex, it was truly a terrible time for her. So now, seeing her so happy, I truly feel like a mother watching her daughter so incredibly happy. When I see my friend in love like that, I also want to be in love. I told everyone in my most recent episode, the one about being single and the fear of loneliness. Which one was that? Episode 45. Anyway, in that episode, I told you all that I use dating apps, right? But it never really went anywhere because I ultimately realized I wasn't ready for a relationship. However, using dating apps taught me one thing. When you start a relationship, you need to clearly tell the other person what you need. In the dating app I used, in the section where you fill in your personal information, there was a very clear section asking what you're looking for. A long-term relationship, a lover, or just someone to chat with casually, something light, just for fun. So, it's essential to clarify these things at the beginning to avoid misunderstandings later, to prevent differing viewpoints that might not be compatible later on. When I was younger, I always thought love had to be sincere, love had to be serious. Now that I'm a bit older, I realize that as long as you're not breaking the law, not affecting a third party, and both people in the relationship agree, anything is fine. For me, love is something very beautiful, and I think that at each age, our idea of love will be different. When I was a bit younger, I liked a slightly turbulent, passionate, intense kind of love. But now that I'm older, I prefer a love that involves attachment and companionship. The other person will teach me about life, teach me about responsibility, and how to manage an adult life, something like that. And for me, right at this moment it might not be true later. I think love is presence. It's when we're together, we feel peaceful, safe, heard, shared, seen, empathized with. I need them just as they need me. We will both support each other to become better and move forward together toward a common goal. That, for me, is a beautiful love. Usually, people think that a love story only needs one confession, and if the other person agrees, there won't be subsequent confessions. But for me, I like a relationship where there are many confessions. It's not about them saying how much they love me or what sacrifices they've made, but about them telling me how much they need me, how important I am to them, how their life is better with me in it. Of course, I know no one dies without someone else. But if they cherish me and say their life would be better with me in it, I truly feel so grateful. To me, that's a perfect confession. I told you earlier that I struggle a lot with love. It doesn't come from my partners, but from myself. I've made loving difficult for myself. And sometimes, I even encounter crushing blows, things that make me doubt love greatly. But I only doubt, I've never lost love completely. I've never completely lost faith in love. I believe that love never truly disappears, it is eternal. Perhaps the subjects within it will change, but love itself will never fade. When I observe my own love, the love of people around me, and then broader forms of love throughout different periods of literature and art, looking at that grand development, I can see that love is a process for each person to develop themselves and discover who they are. There's a classic literary work I absolutely love, Pride and Prejudice. When I like a work, I have to place it within its historical context. Many people criticize the female protagonist in that story for not doing much, but in that era, women faced many restrictions, so don't apply modern perspectives to that period. I'll just analyze the aspect of love in that work. The love between the main characters is a love where they overcome societal expectations and personal prejudices to finally be together. The way the characters are built is so clever. Looking at that love, one can see the development of the characters and the self-discovery of each person in their pursuit of true love. The last line the male protagonist says to the female protagonist, I'll always remember it. If you don't like reading the novel, you can watch the movie. There's a movie on Netflix, you can give it a try. But that confession is so beautiful. You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. He said, I love you, 3 times, everyone. I wish everyone happiness. I hope the person you love will also love you. I hope you are always happy. May all of us be happy. Thank you everyone for listening until this point. Goodbye and see you.